The galaxy was alive with joy. Light flared in the skies of thousands of planets, fireworks of every color painting the darkness in streaks of red, blue, green, and gold. From the largest cities of the Arathon system to the floating gardens of NetNarrator, beings of all shapes and forms celebrated. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt safe. The Varkari, a warlike species feared for their speed, strength, and cunning, had finally been defeated. On the capital world of the Galactic Council, Cerulia, the streets were crowded with jubilant citizens. Towering crystal towers reflected the glow of lanterns floating like tiny stars. Airships flew overhead, streaming ribbons of light that spelled messages of hope and peace in multiple languages. The scent of sweet fruits and roasted nuts mingled with the faint hum of energy fields, giving the city a festive aura. In the council chambers, representatives of dozens of species gathered. Their faces, fur patterns, scales, or antennae all showed signs of relief. They shook hands, exchanged gestures of friendship, and gave speeches praising unity. Each species had contributed to the victory in its own way, some through military might, others through intelligence, technology, or strategy. Yet, through it all, one species had stood out more than any other: humans. Humans were unlike anyone else the galaxy had met. They were neither the fastest nor the strongest. They did not have the sharpest minds or the most powerful weapons. But they had something else, something the galaxy had not yet fully understood. They had courage, adaptability, and a willingness to act when others hesitated. And, perhaps most importantly, they had an unpredictable spark. A strange combination of curiosity and daring that sometimes bordered on madness. Alara, a human commander in her early 30s, walked into the council chamber. She moved with a quiet confidence, her eyes sharp and clear, scanning the room with an awareness that seemed to notice everything. Around her, alien representatives whispered. Some admired humans. Some were uneasy. Humans had won battles other species had thought impossible. They had solved problems no one else could. And yet there was a lingering question. What would humans do next? Outside the council hall, celebrations continued. Children of many species played together, learning each other's games. Music filled the air, combining alien instruments and human drums into melodies that were both strange and beautiful. Holographic images of past heroes hovered above the streets, showing the battles of the Varkari War and the faces of those who had fought bravely. Alara's mind, however, was not on the celebrations. She moved to a balcony overlooking the city. Watching the fireworks burst over Cerulia, she felt a mix of pride and unease. Victory was sweet, yes, but it was only the beginning. The galaxy had been scarred by the Varkari's attacks, and now that they were gone, the work of rebuilding would begin. A small figure approached her, a young human cadet named Jaren, eager and nervous. "Commander Ilara," he said, bowing slightly. "The council is asking for a report. They want to know your assessment of the post-war situation." Ilara smiled faintly. "It's good that they ask. They must understand that this is not the end of the work. Peace is harder to maintain than war." She paused, looking down at the crowded streets. The galaxy is celebrating now, but every celebration carries the risk of forgetting the lessons of war. Jaren nodded, his bright eyes wide with admiration. Humans had a reputation for speaking plainly, for seeing problems that others ignored. "Do you think the other species will listen?" he asked. "They will," Ilara said quietly, "but it will take time. We humans have a way of showing, not just telling. That is how we will help the galaxy remember." Meanwhile, across the chamber, alien leaders debated. The Trelexians, a species of towering stone-like beings, rumbled among themselves. "These humans," one Trelexian said in a low voice, "they act without caution. Yet somehow they succeed where we fail. It is confusing." A winged diplomat from the planet Venara responded, her feathers brushing the air. "Confusing, yes, but effective. Do not underestimate them. They have a way of finding solutions that we do not see." Even among allies, humans were a source of both admiration and concern. Their unpredictability made some uneasy, but no one could deny the results. Humans had turned the tide in the battle for Ceridian, where the Varkari nearly breached the Council's defenses. While others waited for orders, humans acted, improvising traps and strategies that no Council protocol had planned. They had saved thousands of lives and captured critical Varkari technology. Back on the balcony, Alara could see the glow of other worlds in the distance. Cerulia was not the only planet celebrating. Screens in space stations and city squares displayed similar scenes from across the galaxy. Species that had once fought each other now stood together, sharing the joy of a common victory. Yet in the shadows of celebration, there were worries. Some factions whispered about revenge. Some scientists cautioned that the Varkari were not entirely gone, that remnants might regroup in secret corners of the galaxy. Ilara understood these fears. History had shown that peace was fragile. One spark could ignite old conflicts, and the galaxy, for all its celebrations, had to remain vigilant. Her thoughts were interrupted by a holographic message projected from the council chamber. The voice of the High Chancellor, a wise and aged being named Valtheron, filled the balcony. "Commander Ilara, your presence is requested. The council wishes to honor the contributions of the humans and discuss the path forward." Ilara nodded. "Understood," she said, signaling Jaren to follow. They moved toward the council chamber where representatives were beginning to settle. The humans entered quietly, drawing attention without seeking it. Eyes turned toward them, some filled with respect, some with curiosity, and others with suspicion. Inside the chamber, Ilara stood before the council. Holographic images of key battles rotated behind her, highlighting moments where humans had made decisive moves. The room was silent as all species waited for her words. Ilara began to speak, her voice steady. "We celebrate today," she said, "because the galaxy has survived. We celebrate because countless beings have fought bravely. But let us not forget that the victory is only one step. True success will come not from weapons or strategy alone, but from our willingness to understand, to cooperate, and to learn from each other." Whispers spread among the council. Humans were known for speaking plainly, without pretense or ceremony. Their words had weight, because they came from action, not just thought. Ilara continued, pointing to the holograms. "These images show what we have achieved together. But remember, each of these victories depended not on a single species, but on the unity of many. Let this victory teach us that diversity, creativity, and courage are our greatest strengths." Some alien delegates nodded, impressed. Others exchanged uncertain glances, unused to such straightforward honesty. But all listened because humans commanded attention not by force but by the clarity of their purpose. As the council meeting ended, the assembly erupted in applause. Humans did not seek praise, yet they received it. Outside, the celebrations continued, but now with a new focus, an awareness that humans, unpredictable and daring, were shaping the future of the galaxy in ways no one had expected. Ilara returned to the balcony, gazing at the twinkling lights of Cerulia. "The galaxy rejoices," she murmured. "But it is not enough to celebrate. We must prepare." Jaren stood beside her, inspired and full of questions. "Commander," he said, "what will we do next?" Ilara smiled, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "Next we will listen, observe, and act when needed. The galaxy has learned the value of courage today, but tomorrow it will need wisdom and cooperation. And humans will find a way to lead without forcing it. That is who we are." Above, fireworks continued to streak the night sky. Across the galaxy, species celebrated their hard-won victory. But in that moment, on a small balcony in Cerulia, one human looked at the stars and quietly understood that this was only the beginning of a new journey. One that would test the courage, creativity, and spirit of humanity in ways no one could yet imagine. The celebrations were still alive across Cerulia, but inside the council chambers the mood was different. The victories of the war had brought relief, but they had also brought questions about the humans. While most species relied on careful strategy, long deliberation, and centuries-old protocols, humans had acted differently. They had taken risks, made bold decisions, and yet somehow succeeded. Some called it brilliance. Others whispered it was reckless luck. Ilara walked through the council corridors, her boots making soft clicks against the polished floors. Holographic displays showed reports from battlefields across the galaxy, ships that had survived impossible attacks, planets liberated with minimal loss of life, and new alliances formed in ways no council member could have predicted. Humans were at the center of many of these stories. A council aide approached her nervously, a thin, violet-skinned alien with 4 arms. "Commander Ilara," they said, bowing deeply. "The council has requested that you speak about the human contributions in detail. They wish to understand your methods." Ilara nodded. "I will explain. But remember, not all victories can be fully explained. Some happen because of choice, timing, and courage combined. That is often difficult to put into words. The council chamber filled again, representatives settling into their seats. Each species looked different, yet all shared a common curiosity. Humans were strange to them, not just in form, but in behavior. No other species seemed capable of taking the unpredictable risks that humans took. Humans seemed willing to face danger, not blindly, but with sharp calculation tempered by intuition. Ilara began her presentation. Holograms of battle strategies rotated in the air. We humans faced a situation on Ceridian that many believed hopeless, she said. The Varkari had surrounded the planet's capital. Standard strategy would have demanded a retreat, regrouping forces until reinforcements arrived. But we saw another option. We analyzed the enemy patterns and noticed gaps in their patrols, weaknesses in coordination. Acting quickly, we created diversions that allowed our allies to reclaim key positions. What others might have called reckless, we called an opportunity. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some alien delegates were impressed, others cautious. But Commander Ilara, a long-necked Trelexian, spoke. Your approach seems chaotic. You rely on instinct more than structured logic. How can we trust such methods in future conflicts? Ilara's eyes met theirs calmly. Because instinct is informed by experience, and experience is informed by observation. Humans learn quickly, adapt, and improvise. We rely on both reason and intuition. Yes, it is different from your protocols. Yes, it may seem unpredictable, but it works. The room was quiet, not from disagreement, but from attention. Ilara had a way of speaking that drew listeners in, not with force, but with clarity. She continued. Other species have excelled in what they do best. Some are masters of speed, some of strength, some of long-range strategy. Humans do not excel in just one area. We combine skills. We observe, plan, act, and adjust. Sometimes we fail. Sometimes we succeed spectacularly. But the key is that we keep moving forward, even when others hesitate. A young alien delegate from the planet Zorin, whose skin shimmered like liquid silver, raised a tentacle. Are you suggesting that humans act without rules? They asked. Ilara shook her head. Not without rules. We respect rules, protocols, and ethics. But when rules alone cannot solve a problem, we find another way. We do not wait for permission when action is required. We take responsibility for our choices and the consequences that follow. The council chamber hummed with quiet discussion. Many delegates had never seen anyone speak with such confidence while describing actions that had seemed impossible. Some were cautious. Some were intrigued. One thing was clear. Humans were different, and the galaxy had yet to fully understand them. After the presentation, the High Chancellor, Valtheron, stepped forward. His ancient golden eyes studied Ilara carefully. You have demonstrated remarkable courage and skill, Commander, he said. Yet your methods remain enigmatic. How can we ensure that your unpredictability benefits the galaxy rather than endangers it? Ilara smiled faintly. By trust, Chancellor. Trust in action, trust in learning, and trust in shared goals. Humans act boldly, yes, but we act with purpose. And we do not act alone. We work with others, we inspire collaboration, and we find ways to turn challenges into opportunities. Our unpredictability is not chaos, it is creativity in action. The council deliberated late into the evening. Some delegates worried that human boldness might cause unforeseen problems. Others realized that humans' flexibility and ingenuity had saved countless lives during the Varkari War. Discussions that began with caution slowly shifted toward curiosity and admiration. Meanwhile, in the observation deck overlooking Cerulea's city lights, Ilara and Jaren watched the celebrations below. Do you think they understand? Jaren asked. Ilara shook her head. Some do. Others will take longer. Humans are unusual. The galaxy sees our actions, but not always our reasoning. That is fine. Over time, results speak louder than words. Jaren looked at her, eyes wide. Do you ever worry they might not accept us? Ilara smiled softly. Not worry, Jaren. We do not need to be accepted immediately. We need to be understood eventually. Humans show value not through conformity, but through courage, creativity, and dedication. Time will reveal that. Back in the council chambers, discussions turned to the next challenge: rebuilding the war-torn planets. Many species had different ideas about governance, resources, and alliances. Factions argued over who should take responsibility for certain regions. Tensions ran high, and there were moments when old rivalries nearly resurfaced. It was then that the humans, quiet until now, observed. They did not argue or push their influence. Instead, they analyzed, listened, and waited for the right moment. Ilara noticed that decisions often stumbled because delegates focused on dominance rather than cooperation. When the council nearly reached a stalemate, Ilara stood. "If I may," she said, her voice calm but firm, "the galaxy does not need rulers to decide everything. It needs cooperation. Each species has strengths. Each species has perspectives. If we focus on understanding and collaboration, we can rebuild faster, more fairly, and without repeating the mistakes of war. We do not need to compete over power. We need to work together." The chamber was silent. Her words were simple, but their meaning was profound. Many delegates realized that humans were not seeking to dominate. They were offering a path forward. A path that relied not on hierarchy, but on unity and shared purpose. Some of the older, more cautious delegates frowned. "It is idealistic," one said. "War has taught us that strength is needed to enforce peace." Ilara nodded. "Strength is necessary, yes. But courage, creativity, and wisdom are stronger. If we only rely on force, we repeat the mistakes of the past. If we combine our strengths, we create something far greater than any single species could achieve." By the end of the meeting, the council had agreed to experiment with human-led coordination in several regions. It was a small step, but it signaled a shift. Humans were no longer just participants in the galaxy's affairs. They were becoming a guiding force, subtle but undeniable. After the meeting, Ilara returned to the observation deck. The city below still sparkled with celebration, unaware of the quiet decisions shaping its future. "The galaxy is ready to celebrate," she said. "But celebration alone cannot secure peace. That requires attention, care, and courage every day." Jaren looked at her with admiration. "Humans are different, aren't we?" Ilara chuckled softly. "Yes, we are. But being different is not a weakness. It is our strength. We see possibilities that others overlook. We act when others hesitate. And sometimes our boldness inspires the galaxy to reach higher than it thought possible." Above, the stars shone brightly, a reminder of the vastness of the galaxy and the endless opportunities for discovery, cooperation, and growth. Humans had shown what courage and creativity could achieve in war, and now they faced the greater challenge, showing the galaxy how to thrive in peace. In the quiet of the night, Ilara made a promise, not just to her fellow humans, but to every being in the galaxy. They would prove that bravery and intelligence, when guided by compassion and wisdom, could change the course of history. And though the council and the citizens did not yet fully understand humans, they would soon see that humanity's unique spark was something the galaxy could not ignore. The celebrations would continue for weeks. Songs and stories would honor the victory. But among the stars, humans were already looking forward, preparing to shape the future in ways no one could yet imagine. And in the heart of the galaxy, one human understood that sometimes the loudest victories were not the ones celebrated with fireworks, but the quiet victories of ideas, courage, and inspiration that could change the galaxy forever. The victory celebrations had faded, but the galaxy was far from quiet. On the liberated planets, species worked to rebuild, repair, and recover. Cities that had once been scorched by the Varkari now buzzed with life again. Markets reopened, schools welcomed children, and factories resumed production. Yet beneath the surface, tension lingered. Old rivalries, disputes over resources, and lingering fear of the Varkari threatened to unravel the fragile peace. In the heart of the Galactic Council on Cerulia, debates had grown heated. Representatives argued over governance, trade rights, and security measures. Some insisted that each liberated planet should be controlled by the strongest military faction to prevent further uprisings. Others argued for shared leadership, emphasizing fairness and cooperation. The chamber vibrated with conflicting voices, alien languages blending into a chaotic symphony. Humans, however, remained calm observers. Ilara stood at the edge of the chamber, her eyes scanning every delegate. Unlike others, humans did not feel the need to dominate the discussion. They listened, analyzed, and waited for the right moment to act. She understood that diplomacy was not won by volume or aggression. It was won by insight, timing, and courage. Finally, the council erupted in near chaos. A delegate from the planet Varnock slammed their clawed hand on the table. We cannot leave these systems unguarded. Weakness invites the Varkari, or worse. We must enforce control. A winged diplomat from Venara countered, her feathers quivering with anger. And you propose tyranny as a solution? Do you think the liberated populations will accept occupation? Peace requires trust, not fear. Arguments continued, voices rising and falling, but no agreement emerged. The room was tense. Old wounds threatened to reopen. It was in that moment that Alara stepped forward. The room grew quiet. Even in the chaos of debate, humans had a way of commanding attention. We are all proud of our victory, she began, her voice calm but firm, and we are all responsible for what comes next. But fighting over control now would be like winning a battle only to lose the war. Cooperation, not dominance, will ensure lasting peace. The council stared at her. Humans had not interrupted with aggression or demands. They simply spoke, and their words carried weight. We have seen the cost of war, Alara continued. We have seen what happens when fear dictates decisions. Do you want the galaxy to rebuild under fear, or under trust, understanding, and shared purpose? A murmur ran through the chamber. Some delegates nodded in agreement, others exchanged wary glances. Humans had a way of pointing out the obvious without appearing arrogant. It was a gift or a puzzle to the galaxy. Alara moved closer to the center of the chamber. The Varkari are gone, but threats will remain. Not all conflicts are solved by weapons. Some are solved by creativity, dialogue, and courage. Humans do not seek to dominate. We act when needed, and we guide by example, not by force. If we combine our strengths, we can rebuild faster, smarter, and safer than any single species could alone. The council chamber was silent, the weight of her words sinking in. Even the most skeptical delegates felt the truth of her speech. Humans acted differently, yes, but they acted wisely. Their methods were unusual, their courage undeniable, and their foresight remarkable. Then, a new concern emerged. A holographic alert projected in the chamber, showing distant regions of the galaxy. Shadowy fleets were moving near the edges of controlled space in areas thought to be safe. Their intentions were unclear, but the implication was certain. The galaxy remained vulnerable. A Varnock representative growled. See, this is why we need control. Without strict enforcement, chaos will return. Alara shook her head. Control alone cannot prevent danger. Understanding, intelligence, and quick action can. And humans have proven that when others hesitate, we find solutions. The chamber fell silent again. Many delegates had witnessed human ingenuity during the war. Humans had discovered hidden Varkari supply lines, devised strategies to outmaneuver stronger forces, and rescued countless civilians. Their unpredictability was not recklessness. It was problem-solving under pressure. A delegate from the planet Thesara, a species with crystalline skin that shimmered in the light, spoke cautiously. Your methods, they are unusual. We are not used to such bold improvisation. How can we trust humans with leadership in these new challenges? Alara smiled faintly. Trust is earned, not demanded. Humans earn trust by action, by results, by protecting life and fostering collaboration. Look at what we have achieved together. If we focus on what we can do as allies, we will succeed where fear and control fail. The council began to reconsider. Slowly, discussions shifted from dominance to collaboration. Plans for joint governance, resource sharing, and cooperative defense were proposed. Humans, led by Alara, suggested new methods for organizing reconstruction teams, blending expertise from different species. Where others saw obstacles, humans saw possibilities. Outside the council, the city of Cerulia remained alive with quiet celebration. People moved among streets still decorated with lanterns and lights. Children played games inspired by both human and alien cultures, while musicians combined rhythms from multiple worlds into melodies that had never existed before. Humans had shown that joy, creativity, and courage could coexist even in the aftermath of war. Alara and Jaren walked along the council's observation deck, watching the city below. Do you think they understand? Jaren asked, his voice quiet. Alara looked out at the glowing lights. Some do, some will take longer. Humans are different, yes, but our strength is in our perspective. We see solutions others cannot. And when the time comes, we act. That is how we inspire change. As the night deepened, messages arrived from other liberated planets. Reports spoke of rising tensions, disputes over resources, and fears of hidden Varkari remnants. Alara studied each report carefully. These challenges required more than military might. They required insight, creativity, and leadership that could unite diverse species. She realized that humans were uniquely suited for this task. Unlike other species, humans combined intuition and reason, courage and empathy. They could act decisively, yet remain adaptable. They could inspire cooperation without coercion. And in a galaxy still healing from war, such qualities were rare and valuable. At the same time, not all species were ready to accept this leadership. Some remained cautious, suspicious of humans' unconventional methods, but Ilara understood that trust was built over time. She had no intention of forcing it. She would earn it through action, example, and results. A communication arrived from a distant sector. Sensors had detected unusual activity near a recently liberated system. The Varkari had been defeated, yet remnants might still linger. Some species called for immediate military action. Ilara studied the data and shook her head. "Patience," she said to Jaren. "Rushing in without understanding can create more problems than it solves. We need to observe, learn, and act with precision. That is how humans operate. That is how we will protect the galaxy." Jaren looked impressed. "Humans are different, aren't we?" he asked, half in wonder. Ilara nodded. "Yes, and that difference is our strength. We do not follow fear. We do not act without thought. We balance courage and intelligence, intuition and strategy. That is why the galaxy will look to humans, not to dominate, but to guide, to inspire, and to lead through example." Back in the council chamber, representatives slowly reached a tentative agreement. Joint governance councils were formed for several key planets, combining expertise from multiple species. Resource-sharing programs were proposed. Security measures were designed to protect without imposing fear. And at the heart of these discussions, humans remained central, not as rulers, but as problem solvers, mediators, and innovators. Ilara returned to the observation deck once more. The stars stretched endlessly above, a reminder of the vastness of space and the challenges still ahead. Humans had shown courage in war, ingenuity in crisis, and now they faced the greater test, guiding the galaxy toward lasting peace. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, "This is only the beginning. The galaxy will learn what humans can do, not through force, but through action, creativity, and courage." The galaxy had celebrated victory. It had rejoiced in freedom. And now, slowly, humans were showing the true power that had always set them apart. The ability to act when others hesitated, to think beyond rules, and to inspire cooperation in a universe still learning to trust itself. Weeks had passed since the Council's tentative agreements. On liberated planets, the work of rebuilding continued. Cities once scarred by battle now thrived with new life. Humans were no longer only observers. They had become advisors, coordinators, and mediators, helping species find common ground and resolve disputes before they escalated. Yet even as progress unfolded, a quiet unease spread across the galaxy. Ilara stood in the command center of a newly established human-led coordination hub on the planet Lyria Prime. Holographic maps displayed trade routes, security positions, and reconstruction projects. Delegates from multiple species worked alongside human officers, sharing knowledge and coordinating efforts. It was a remarkable sight. Beings of different shapes, sizes, and abilities working toward a shared goal under human guidance. Jaren approached, carrying data tablets. "Commander Ilara," he said, "we have reports of unusual activity near the edge of the Corin sector. Several systems have detected unidentified ships. They do not respond to hails." Ilara examined the data carefully. The patterns were subtle, almost hidden, but they suggested coordination. "The Varkari remnants are clever," she said. "They may be testing defenses, probing for weaknesses. We cannot assume they are gone entirely." The Council had hoped that the end of the war meant a lasting peace, but Ilara knew otherwise. True peace required constant vigilance, understanding, and the ability to act decisively when threats arose. Humans, she realized, were uniquely suited to this task. Where other species relied on protocol, humans relied on analysis, intuition, and rapid decision-making. Meanwhile, on several planets, humans began implementing programs to encourage cooperation. Engineers shared technological solutions across species. Educators designed joint learning systems for children. Artists combined alien and human cultures. to create music, literature, and performances that celebrated diversity. Humans were not imposing their ways. They were creating a framework where collaboration could flourish naturally. The ripple effect was immediate. On planets where humans coordinated recovery, disputes diminished. Systems previously on the brink of chaos stabilized. Species began to recognize that human leadership was different. It relied not on control or authority, but on guidance, example, and adaptability. Yet not everyone welcomed this change. A shadowy faction, remnants of the Varkari and their hidden allies, watched from the outer regions. They resented the humans' influence and the unity forming among species. Their movements were subtle, almost invisible, but Ilara's sensors detected the signs. She studied the data carefully, aware that this quiet threat could escalate if ignored. In the council chamber, representatives debated new security protocols. Some demanded aggressive patrols and preemptive strikes. Others argued for diplomacy and observation. Ilara spoke with quiet authority. "Strength alone will not protect the galaxy," she said. "We must combine vigilance, intelligence, and cooperation. If we act wisely, we can prevent conflicts without unnecessary violence." Her words were met with a mix of admiration and skepticism. Many delegates had witnessed humans' ingenuity during the war. Humans had identified weaknesses in the Varkari that others overlooked, had coordinated rescues, and had developed strategies that saved countless lives. Their reputation for bold, unconventional thinking had earned them respect, but also caution. As the council debated, Ilara prepared a field operation. She and a small team of humans and allied species would investigate the unusual activity in the Coran sector. The mission required precision, teamwork, and adaptability, the hallmarks of human ingenuity. Jaren looked at her nervously. "Commander, do you really think we can handle it? The reports are incomplete and the sector is vast." Ilara placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "We handle it because we must. Humans act when others hesitate. That is what makes us effective. We analyze, we plan, we adapt, and we act. The galaxy is counting on us." The team departed in sleek, multi-species vessels. As they traveled through the dark stretches of space, tension filled the air. Every sensor ping, every anomaly, was carefully noted. The crew relied on human adaptability, combining data analysis, intuition, and quick decision-making to navigate the uncertainty. They soon discovered a hidden base in a remote asteroid field. Cloaked ships hovered silently, their movements coordinated yet unpredictable. The presence of the Varkari remnants was confirmed, but there were signs of other unknown influences, perhaps secret allies seeking to exploit the chaos. Ilara studied the situation. "A direct attack could be risky," she said. "We need a plan that minimizes harm but neutralizes the threat. Humans do not rely on brute force alone. We find a solution that turns the enemy's actions against them." The team executed a careful strategy. Humans coordinated with alien allies, using deception, distraction, and precision strikes. They managed to disable key ships without a full-scale battle, capturing intelligence that revealed the extent of the hidden faction. The operation was a success, not only in neutralizing immediate danger but in demonstrating the value of human creativity and leadership. Back on Cerulia, news of the mission spread quickly. The Council and the citizens of the galaxy watched as humans solved a crisis that many species had feared would escalate into war. The operation reinforced a growing truth. Humans did not seek glory or control. They sought solutions, safety, and cooperation, inspiring trust across the galaxy. Despite the success, Ilara knew the challenge was only beginning. The hidden faction remained, and the intelligence they captured hinted at even greater dangers lurking in the shadows. Humans would need to continue their vigilance, guiding, coordinating, and inspiring the galaxy to face threats wisely and together. In the aftermath of the mission, humans also focused on reconstruction and diplomacy. Systems that had suffered under the Varkari were rebuilt with human guidance, blending technology, strategy, and creativity from multiple species. Markets reopened, schools taught shared knowledge, and communities learned to work together. Humans became symbols not just of courage, but of collaboration, innovation, and resilience. Jaren observed the changes with wonder. "Commander, the galaxy, it's really starting to come together. Humans are leading without forcing it. It's incredible." Ilara smiled. "That is the power of human action. We do not seek to dominate, but to inspire. We do not rely on fear, but on courage, creativity, and cooperation. That is how we protect the galaxy, and how we help it thrive." Yet even as humans celebrated small victories in rebuilding and diplomacy, the shadow of the hidden faction loomed. Unseen, they gathered resources, trained new forces, and waited for a moment to strike. The galaxy had been freed from immediate danger, but its future was not yet secure. Ilara knew that peace required more than the absence of war. It required constant vigilance, adaptability, and the ability to act decisively when threats arose. Humans had already proven themselves in battle, but now they faced the greater challenge: shaping a galaxy that could survive through wisdom, collaboration, and courage. The stars above Cerulia sparkled like distant promises. Fireworks still glimmered faintly from celebrations on distant worlds, but Ilara's eyes were on the horizon. She understood that the galaxy had celebrated victory, yet the real test lay ahead. Humans, with their boldness, creativity, and courage, would need to lead the way, not through force but through example and ingenuity. And as the humans worked tirelessly across the galaxy, quietly guiding species toward understanding and cooperation, the hidden faction prepared. A storm of challenge and danger was forming in the outer reaches, unseen by most, yet not unnoticed by those who were vigilant. Ilara knew the galaxy's true turning point was near. The humans' actions had already begun to shape the future, but soon, every species would witness firsthand the unique power of human courage, intelligence, and cooperation. For the first time, many in the galaxy realized that humans were more than warriors. They were builders, problem solvers, and leaders in a universe still learning how to trust itself. And somewhere in the shadows, the hidden faction watched. They had underestimated humans once. They would soon discover that human ingenuity was not easily defeated. The galaxy was moving toward a new era, one in which humans would guide, inspire, and protect. But the true test of their courage and creativity was yet to come. The galaxy had celebrated peace, yet beneath the surface danger stirred. The hidden faction, composed of Varkari remnants and secret allies, had grown bolder. They had spent months gathering resources, planning attacks, and watching the humans' every move. Their strategy was to destabilize the fragile peace, provoke fear, and reclaim influence across multiple systems. Ilara and her human team received intelligence that the faction had struck first, a surprise assault on the planet Velon, a recently liberated system. The faction's ships moved with stealth and speed, targeting key communication centers and supply stations. If left unchecked, the attack could reignite war and destroy trust among species already wary of each other. Ilara's eyes were steady as she studied the holographic displays in the human command center. "We cannot fight this like a traditional war," she said. "The galaxy has changed. We win by acting wisely, by protecting lives, and by inspiring cooperation. We must be fast, smart, and careful." Jaren, standing beside her, looked nervous. "Commander, the fleet is strong, but they're faster than anything we've seen. How can we stop them?" Ilara smiled faintly. "We will stop them the way humans always do. We observe, we adapt, and we turn challenges into opportunities. That is our advantage." The humans assembled a multi-species task force. Ships from various planets were placed under coordinated command, combining alien strengths with human ingenuity. Humans devised a plan that relied on deception, rapid maneuvering, and coordination rather than sheer firepower. Every ship, every strategy, and every decision relied on the ability to act quickly while thinking several steps ahead, a skill humans had honed in both war and post-war reconstruction. The fleet moved into the Velon system. Sensors detected the hidden faction's ships cloaked near asteroid fields and derelict stations. Instead of a direct assault, humans split their forces into smaller teams, creating feints and distractions. The enemy, expecting predictable tactics, fell into carefully set traps. Alara and her team personally led a strike team toward the faction's flagship. Using precise maneuvers, they disabled key systems, cutting off reinforcements and communications. Allied species watched in awe as humans coordinated complex actions with clarity and speed. Where others might have panicked or hesitated, humans acted decisively. In the midst of battle, a massive explosion rocked the sector. A hidden fleet of enemy ships had attempted a surprise ambush. Many alien commanders froze, unsure of how to respond. Alara's voice cut through the comms. "Focus on the plan. Trust your team. Move forward, adjust, adapt." The human-led teams executed flawlessly. They neutralized enemy ships without unnecessary destruction, capturing key leaders of the hidden faction. Intelligence gathered during the operation revealed the faction's wider plans, ensuring no further immediate threats. Lives were saved, systems were protected, and panic was prevented. As the fleet regrouped, species leaders sent messages of gratitude. They had witnessed something extraordinary. Humans leading not with dominance but with intelligence, courage, and cooperation. Back on Cerulia, the Galactic Council convened to review the operation. Delegates from across the galaxy spoke of the humans' role. Their strategy saved thousands of lives, said a crystalline delegate from Thessera. Without them, Valon would have been lost and trust among the liberated systems broken. Even the cautious Varnock representatives admitted the humans' unique effectiveness. "They act differently," one growled. "Unpredictable, bold. But they succeed. We cannot deny it." Alara addressed the council, her voice calm and clear. This was not a victory of one species alone. It was proof that collaboration works. Humans do not seek power for its own sake. We act when necessary, guiding, coordinating, and protecting. This is the way the galaxy can move forward, together as allies, not competitors. The chamber erupted in applause. For the first time, many species understood the full value of humanity. Humans had not only fought bravely during the war, they had now demonstrated the power of ingenuity, leadership, and cooperation. In the days following the operation, humans helped the Valon system rebuild. They coordinated repairs, shared resources, and implemented security measures to prevent further attacks. Species that had once doubted humans now looked to them for guidance, inspired by the way humans combined courage, intelligence, and compassion. Jaren observed Alara quietly. "Commander, you've done more than win battles. You've shown the galaxy what humans are capable of." Alara smiled softly. "Humans are not perfect, Jaren, but we see possibilities where others see obstacles. We act when action is needed and we inspire cooperation. That is our strength. It is not force alone that protects the galaxy. It is courage, creativity, and unity. The hidden faction, though partially defeated, had revealed a critical lesson. Threats would always exist, and vigilance must never waver. Humans understood this better than anyone. They began creating alliances and training programs to ensure that other species could respond effectively to crises. Humans shared strategies, teaching observation, adaptability, and problem-solving rather than just military techniques. Across the galaxy, the ripple effects were profound. Planets rebuilt faster, disputes diminished, and species began to cooperate naturally. Humans became symbols of hope, courage, and ingenuity. They did not command the galaxy. They guided it quietly and decisively, inspiring every species to rise to its potential. Alara stood on a balcony in Cerulia, looking at the stars. The galaxy had celebrated victory, survived post-war chaos, and faced hidden threats. And humans had led not with domination, but with intelligence and heart. Jaren joined her, his eyes reflecting the starlight. "Do you think the galaxy will ever truly understand us?" he asked. Alara shook her head gently. "Perhaps not fully. Humans are different, and that is our gift. We do not seek approval, we seek results. We act, we protect, and we inspire. In time, the galaxy will see that courage and creativity can change everything." Fireworks from distant celebrations lit the skies. Children laughed, music filled cities, and communities shared stories of bravery and unity. The galaxy rejoiced not just in victory, but in a new understanding that courage, intelligence, and cooperation, qualities humans embodied, could guide entire civilizations toward a brighter future. The hidden faction had been defeated for now, but the galaxy knew that threats would return. Yet with humans at the forefront, leading, guiding, and inspiring, the universe was stronger, more resilient, and ready for challenges yet unseen. Alara turned to Jaren one last time. Remember this, Jaren. Humans act not because they seek glory, but because they understand responsibility. That is how we protect the galaxy, and that is how we inspire it. The universe is vast, full of dangers and opportunities. And humans will always rise to meet them. Above, the stars shone brighter than ever, a reminder of endless possibilities. The galaxy had rejoiced in victory, but it had learned an even greater lesson. One human voice, one human act of courage and intelligence could change the course of history, and so, humans did not merely survive, they thrived. They did not command, they inspired. And in every system, in every city, the story of human courage and creativity spread, shaping the galaxy into a place where unity, hope, and ingenuity could flourish. The galaxy had witnessed wars, threats, and fear. But it had also witnessed humans, and in them it had discovered the true meaning of courage, leadership, and hope.